We saw a Facebook post over the last 24 hours about an incident that happened on Friday last outside the mosque in Blanchardstown, and something that happened to one of our listeners. Her name is Rose. Rose, welcome to 98 FM.
Hello.
Now,
thank you.
Take me back to Friday morning. What were you doing and where were you going?
I just went for a cycle. I was cycling on the footpath. I went around Mulhuddart, past the graveyard, and then I came down past the factories, and I was cycling just past the IT college, and I was cycling towards Riversdale College, and in between the IT college and Riversdale College is a mosque, and there was it just happened so quick. There were so many people in front of me, and I was ringing the bell. I was on a cycle path, and I was saying, excuse me.
And you're ringing the bell on your bike?
On the bike, and some people moved past and smiled, and a lot of people, mostly men, they didn't move. They were the full width of the footpath and the cycle path. So I had nowhere to go, and I was slowing down to get off the bike, and a man turned around. He was in his 50s. He was well dressed, and it just didn't seem the type of man to start shouting. And he called me a stupid woman. This is the footpath, and he kept pointing to the cycle path. And I took out my earphones. I was listening to some music, and I said, "No, I'm sorry. This is a cycle path. I'm using the cycle path." And he just kept saying, "No, stupid woman. This is a footpath. Get off the footpath." I was just shocked. And there were so many people, I can't even tell you how many people there was there. They were just coming out in their droves.
Right, and so basically this guy in his 50s shouted at you, "Get off the footpath, woman."
Yeah.
And you were trying to explain that it's actually a cycle lane as well.
And you can see where the marks had faded, but it is a cycle path.
Okay, and this man then put his arm out and stopped you cycling past?
He put his two arms out, and he had this look on his face. He was just annoyed. And I said, "Why are you doing this?" And there was a young man with him in his 20s. He was dressed all in brown. And he started hitting his face and saying, white woman. And I said, "Yes, I am a white woman. What's that got to do with the cycle path?" And the young man was laughing. And then it was only later on I remembered there's a lady behind them. I don't know if she was with them, but she was laughing, and she looked at me and she laughed. And I said, "Why would you think this is funny? Why would you think it's funny for a woman to be treated like this?" And then I said, "Can I go, please? Can I use the path?" So I started to cycle again, and the young man kept saying, "Stupid white woman," and he was tapping his face. And then the man in his 50s, he stepped aside, and I thought he was letting me go. And just as I cycled, he just got his two arms and pushed me and knocked me flying. And I couldn't control the bike, and all I could see was oncoming traffic, because it's like a little embankment.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go over the embankment, you're on the middle of the road. So I was trying to stop the bike from going onto the middle of the road, and I slid down, and the bike came on top of me. And I think I just burst into tears. I can't even remember half of it.
So this guy basically shoved you off your bike?
Pushed me and the bike down the embankment, and it's oncoming traffic then from the Blanchardstown area.
Wow, okay, so what happened with this group of men and perhaps one woman? Did they just disperse and leave you there?
Well, I just remember lying between the cycle path and the embankment. I was half on and half off, and I remember my sunglasses fell off and my headphones, and they just stepped over them. Most of the people just kept walking where they were going, towards Warrenstown, Castlecurragh area. They were all heading in that area. And I didn't see it. I just remember these two men running over to me, and then I saw their truck on the middle of the road. Two lovely men from the council, or I know the council lorry from going around the area. And they ran over and they helped me up. Both of them lifted me up and lifted the bike up for me. And then they're asking me, "Am I okay?" They said, "We saw what happened. That's disgraceful. We saw what the man did." And the younger man, Dave, I think his name was, he was on the phone. He called 999 and asked for assistance. I'm not sure what he said to them, but he said, "I've called the guards for you and an ambulance." And the other man, an older man, was with him, Bobby, and they held my hand and sat beside me. I can't even remember how long I was sitting there. I just remember crying. I couldn't stop crying.
Now tell me about your injuries. You were black and blue afterwards.
Yeah, my legs, because I was sliding, you see, and it's kind of all rocky, and the bike came down on top of me. So my 2 knees were badly bruised and swollen. I kind of twisted my knee as I was trying to stop myself from falling down the embankment. But those 2 men were so kind, and they stayed with me the whole time. But the police never came.
The man who shoved you, the young man who was slapping his face, they just left, did they?
They laughed. I just remember seeing them laughing, and they walked off.
And they walked off. Wow.
All the people around them walked off, but I have to say 3 other Muslim gentlemen came over to me and apologised for their behaviour and asked me, was I okay? One gentleman said that he was a doctor. I'm not sure if he said from Connolly Hospital. He didn't mention Connolly Hospital, but I was kind of in shock. And he was asking me, did I need assistance? But I really can't remember half of it. I just remember those 2 men from the council were so kind, and they stayed the whole time with me.
From there, you went to the Gardaí to report it.
Yeah, my husband brought me down. The young man from the council asked, did I want to use his phone to ring my husband? I rang my husband, and he came flying down to me, and he took me down to Blanchardstown police station, and we asked, could we speak to somebody privately, because I was still upset. You could see I'd been crying for so long. And the young guard said that there was nobody available to take the statement, that they had prisoners in the cells, and somebody would contact me later on, or could I call back tomorrow after 12 o'clock. But I didn't go back the next day. I was just so upset that nobody turned up and nobody was there to speak to me.
Okay, so it's Monday now. This happened on Friday, and you've still not given a statement, or Gardaí haven't been in contact with you for a statement?
No.
Oh, now, I have to say, the whole story sounds extraordinarily intimidating for a group of men to be harassing a woman like that.
It was such a large group, though. I mean, they were coming. I was in the middle of. To me, it felt like 100 people, and their cars were parked on the footpath. There was cars parked on the grass verge. There was cars everywhere. And
again, the path, or the cycle path that you were on, is a cycle path.
It is a cycle path. Everyone uses it. It's definitely a cycle path.
And how are you?
It's a cycle path and a footpath, and they're both beside each other.
How are you today?
I'm still getting over the shock of it. And every time I think of it now, I get angry. And if the guards had come when the chap from the council called them, maybe I could have got in the car and went with the guards and said, there's the 2 men who did this.
But now it's too late. You'll probably never find out who they were.
Exactly. We went into the mosque. My husband brought me down to the mosque, and we went in and asked to speak to somebody in charge. And the gentleman that came out, I can't remember his name, but we were told that he's a neurologist, I think, from...
Oh, yes, I know the man, yeah.
From Beaumont Hospital.
Yep.
And he apologised, and I said, what will happen if you find out who this person was? He said, we'll sit down and talk to him.
Because it's not, I mean, the sad part about this is that, hearing about incidents like that just tarnishes the Muslim community with a bad name, which it doesn't necessarily.
We have lovely Muslim neighbours.
Yes, and that's the point I was about to say.
Yeah.
It just so happens you met a bogey bunch of men, and that's it must have been really intimidating.
It was horrible.
Yeah, my heart goes out
All I could see was oncoming traffic.
Yeah.
I honestly thought, and if it wasn't for those 2 men who ran over, the men from the council, I still have to thank them. I just never got around. He left his phone number with my husband. I never got around to thank them, Dave and Bobby. They were 2 lovely men. They stayed the whole time, but the guards didn't come and an ambulance didn't come.
And it was Dr. Umar Al-Quadri that you were talking to the other day, is that right?
I'm not sure of his name.
The man from Beaumont Hospital. And
yeah.
I hope that he's able to find out who did that and have a stern word with them. All I can say is I wish you the very best, and I'm really sorry to hear that intimidating story from you, Rose. Thanks very much indeed for talking to us. All right, there you go.
No problem, thank you.
And that's Rose. Wow, what a story. Anyway, it shouldn't tarnish the whole Muslim community. It just so happens that it was a group of Muslim men. Anyway, this is 98 FM's Dublin Talk.